Peace, everybody. Welcome to Elephant in the Room. He's Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. We do this on Roll Tide Pods. Like and subscribe. I say do them both. We want you to be in the comments section as well. So there's three things to be involved with what we do here on the show. But we talk Alabama football, and this is the calm before the storm. Got another week, and then all of a sudden practice starts. Alabama is obviously a team everyone's going to pay attention to because of the coaching change and everything else going on. So we're going to get into that here on the show. I want to remind you that we're brought to you by Rowback.com. Use the promo code Room20, 20% off your first order at Rowback. And they got some great gear, some great shirts and different stuff. So, all right, let's get into this right now. Jake, good to see you. It is the calm before the storm, man. How excited are you about the fact that football's almost back again?
Oh man, well, thank God we got some Olympics coming up to watch, and then we're pretty much there at football season. I can't wait. I was talking to somebody the other day. I mean, high school starts in exactly 1 month, even though it's not like I haven't watched a bunch of high school games, but at least you get that feel back for football, you know. Man, I'm so excited. It's best time of the year is pretty much, well, I guess September to January, you know, best time of the year. We're almost there.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, so many question marks about the defense. You look at Nick Saban picking Texas and Georgia at SEC Media Days over Alabama, and he said it was because of the secondary, and I agree with him. I mean, like when you look at that Alabama secondary, they went out and rebuilt the secondary off of transfer portal players and freshmen. I mean, can you do that?
Man, I think you can do it. I don't think it's, you know, again, we've talked about it a lot on this podcast that, you know, the foundation of the team has to be guys that you recruit, and then you got to have supplementary players through the transfer portal that can kind of latch on the culture you've built. I mean, it's not ideal, but I mean, we're doing the best we can with the hand we were dealt. Again, I think a lot of those guys that left are going to feel left out because I don't think Alabama is going to fall off like we thought it possibly may have, you know. Like we thought it possibly may have gone earlier on in the process of Kalen DeBoer showing up in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I think you're seeing a guy who's putting together a well-oiled machine, and you know, the downtime or the tough years are going to be few and far between. I think it's going to be a 1 to 2 year process, and we're back in that conversation. I mean, look, you know, you don't take much from you know, what the media says about teams. I mean, you see it a lot where teams start in the top 5 and then they're forgotten about by the end of the year. But, I mean, you know, by all indications, we're looking like, just based on, you know, just paper, looking like the 3rd best team in the SEC, possibly the 2nd, depending on if Texas shows up or not. I think Ole Miss is going to surprise some people this year. But I still think it's between Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. And Ole Miss may sneak in somehow, but I mean, we're definitely still in that conversation. And look, offensively, I mean, you know, over the last few years, especially in Bryce Young's tenure as quarterback, I mean, we were an offensive-led team, you know, towards the end of Coach Saban's career at Alabama. You know, in a lot of games, and especially, like I said, during Bryce Young's career. So, I mean, I think we're going to be explosive on offense, and we just got to kind of feel it out through as the season goes on defense.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU isn't back in the picture again. I mean, I know they got the first year Brian Kelly was the head coach. Last year they were kind of took a step back, but you feel like they're a program that could surprise some teams as well. I mean, and I know that they don't have Chase Daniels, but something tells me that LSU is going to be good.
Jaden Daniels, yeah. I don't know, man. I watched.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
You know, It's kind of hard to say. I mean, again, you see very few times where a quarterback can carry a team through the season. But, last year was one of those years where, I mean, LSU was almost unstoppable on offense. And most of that had to do with Jaden Daniels, in my opinion. He got hurt in the Alabama game. And I mean, prior to him going out, man, they were – borderline unstoppable with him in there. When you lose a guy with that much talent, that kind of vision behind, as a quarterback in the pocket, it's very hard to replace. And look, LSU is good enough to beat anybody, but when you lose Jaden Daniels and you don't have that kind of explosive arm, accurate arm in the backfield, it's kind of hard to recover from that.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Having said that, they have all the athletes to be a good team to beat anybody they play. But, it's all about consistency in terms of winning championships. And I don't know if they're going to be consistent enough to really make a push for the SEC title.
It's going to be a weird season not playing the schedule that we've played forever. No Mississippi State, no Ole Miss, like having like everyone lumped into the same pool. And then, hey, we're just going to take the two top teams. I don't know that being maybe the third team wouldn't be better at the to win the national championship than being one of the first two teams. Just because I think the SEC championship game's a waste of time now. I think they need to get rid of it.
Oh, I don't know, man. That SEC championship game is I mean, it tends to be one of the best games of the year. You got the most powerful conference in the country. And look, I understand it. You're kind of beating your own teams down, but with a 12-team playoff, I mean, I like the fact that you single out the best team in the SEC, in that conference championship game. And selfishly as a fan, you always want more games to watch, more good games to watch. And, I don't know, man. I love the history of the SEC title game. I just love the SEC. And when, prior to the playoff era, or at least this 12-team playoff era that's about to start, after that SEC championship, you kind of felt like the season was over. You had 3 good games at the end of the year with the 4-team playoff, but outside of that, the bowl games had kind of lost a lot of their luster or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they just weren't as fun to watch as they used to be. So I'd hate to see the SEC championship go. Now, having said that, like you said, the third best team, I mean, you're all going to kind of be lumped into that, 4th to 7th, 4th to 8th seeding. The second best team in the SEC or the loser of that SEC championship, I just don't see them dropping too far out of that conversation. By making it that game, you're pretty much into the playoff. And I don't see the seeding changing too much. But it also depends on which side of the conference you're on.
Yeah, right. But I mean but think about it now, like you're just in there, like not having an East and West, right? I mean, playing.
Oh, you're talking about just having one giant pool with no interconference.
Yeah, like that's how it is now. And that's so weird to me to think that like that stuff doesn't matter. Like that it ain't going to be about, hey, you win your side and we win ours, right? We're all in the same. We're all in the same thing. I mean, with that said, I mean, it's just kind of like it's going to be different. I don't know that it's going to be better or worse. It's just going to be different.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just it's kind of tough. I feel like there's so many games. It'd be tough to organize. I feel like. I don't know. As much as everything's changing, I don't think anybody really knows how to react or how to organize anything. It's just flying by the seat of your pants and trying to make the best matchups for the entire conference throughout each season. there's a lot of tradition that's being flushed, but I mean, what are you going to do this day and age?
Yeah, right.
I mean, heck, at this point, I'd love to see Clemson and Florida State join the SEC.
I would too. I mean, at this point, what's it matter, right?
Just make it one big party.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be this way, it gives you the opportunity to have 2 more premier games on your schedule.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, at this point, it's all about. I mean, when has it not been about revenue? But at this point, I mean, it's just one big money grab, and you might as well pack it with the best games you possibly can each year. And again, I wouldn't mind trading Vandy for one of those teams. I mean, honestly.
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, and you could take Missouri with them.
Yeah, I mean, because those two kind of lack to me, those 2 teams kind of lack that SEC culture that when you go to did you just do that in my background?
No.
I just had fireworks. What is
how
that?
did you fireworks? I don't. You know what? The things that you're able to do now. Say it again. Let's see if it works again. Fireworks. I didn't do that. He thinks I did that. I didn't. That's on your computer.
Yeah, you need to save that for a more controversial comment.
It's your settings.
No, but again, I mean, what better trade could you? I mean, the ACC, of course, they got no control, but it'd be nice to be able to parlay. Just go ahead and get Clemson and Florida State for Vandy and Missouri. When you go to schools, if you're going to Vanderbilt for a football game, you're not even going for the game. You're going to visit Nashville.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's. I mean, if Vandy if they sell out a game, it's most likely because there's a Morgan Wallen concert later on that night that everybody's really looking forward to go to. I mean,
that's funny.
They got a bunch of alumni in town to go see a concert. It's funny. So my wife, she used to really like going to Nashville. But we went to what's it called? The Ryman.
Oh yeah.
And we went. I went to go play in a golf tournament up there. Shocker for for Volunteers of America, and they took us into the Ryman and took us backstage. And this was probably a year or 2 after I got done playing, and it was between acts, and we were backstage. They call me out there and introduce me, and they say, Alabama football national championship 2016, and my ass got booed off that stage. I mean, it was full of Tennessee fans. They were not having it.
That's so funny.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I'm sure, it's always got country music legends playing in there. So that was probably one of the few times anybody's gotten booed off the stage in that place.
Man, that is cool, though. How did that all transpire?
I mean, I got booed off the stage, and Sarah and I left.
I've had enough of you people. So Alabama recruiting right now is numero uno. And one of the guys that they just got was Caleb Cunningham, who I've actually talked to a few times on my channel, Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. And he committed to Alabama, but he's taken some visits, including Auburn, trying to flip him in some other places. I said this, and I get your opinion. I said, look, if I'm that guy, I'm taking all the visits because you just never know anymore. I mean, the way that things are set up, why not, right? Just at least go out there. But he says he's committed to Alabama. I believe him on that. Do you think you shut down your recruitment, or do you go out and at least meet everybody and check it out.
Man, I think you shut it down. I mean, I don't understand what's the point in going to, if you're going to commit. I mean, to me, and look, I've never met Caleb Cunningham. It's not my place to criticize, but I just don't understand the thought process. And after a commitment, taking visits. I mean, I've always said I think you take your visits, as many as you want to, come to a decision, commit, and then that's the end. I mean, look, that's your word. You're promising. You're telling somebody you're committed to them. So I mean, you've given them your word. So I just don't get the visits after a commitment. Now I do understand decommitting if something happens where you feel like you're not getting the full or truthful story. Things kind of fall apart behind the scenes, which I've seen before. I've seen different circumstances where guys were frustrated with certain things that were going on while they were committed. But I don't. It's kind of like guys committing as juniors. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like there's too many things that can happen. I mean, I committed not too long after I got a offer from Florida State. I did not take any other visits after that. There were some things that came up that we had to talk through and get to the bottom of. But we ironed those things out and everything was okay, and never went on a visit anywhere else. I mean, I just think you got to communicate with these coaches, let them know what you're thinking, and if you feel like everything's truthful on their end and it feels like the right spot to you, then I think it means a lot to commit to a school and be totally dedicated to that school after you give them your word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that either. I don't know that there is a right or a wrong answer other than if you give your word that you're going somewhere, then I think you just need to live up to it. Once you say, hey, I'm going to do that. But this is the world that we live in right now. And Alabama's going to have to do this with all of these recruits that are committed. Like they've got to get them to the finish line. And when you talk to Kane Womack, he knew that.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard from a lot of different coaches from a lot of different schools. It's the commitments are great and it means a lot. It makes a buzz, but at the same time, we've got, I don't know, what is it, 6 months now until these guys are signing the dotted line and everything's finalized, and you don't know how much money is going to pile in from another school, out of nowhere to kind of tip the scales, or and again, I when I was getting recruited, there was no NIL. I like to say that money wouldn't have swayed me too much, but you start thinking about it, and it's hard to say that it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you come to find out there's not a whole lot of guarantees in life, and it's not guaranteed that you're not going to break your leg in half. First time you walk out on that field. So, these are young kids that got a lot of tough decisions to make, and they're a lot even tougher now. The pressures are, through the roof now, because you're making decisions that monetarily can change your life and help out your family. And I've just seen. I saw what Carson Beck's driving a Lamborghini now.
Really?
Probably not the smartest financial decision, but yeah. Which is another thing I don't understand. He said he's got a Lamborghini, but he doesn't drive it like an idiot. Well, you buy a Lamborghini to drive like an idiot.
What would your life have been? I just see you with the most pimped out, like 4-wheel drive truck, like back in the day, man. Am I wrong on this? But for some reason I see like tinted windows and,
Nah. That's one thing. Cars are nothing. I guess unless I was making, just money I could just light on fire. Cars, really nice cars, don't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, they lose their value so quickly. There's no point in even, what's the point? Unless you want to go really fast, and that's
yeah.
what Carson Beck has decided to do.
Yeah.
It just whatever.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, look, man. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, he's still committed. I think he's still going to come to Alabama, and this is one of those things that's an obstacle that you're going to have to deal with if you're Kalen DeBoer and his staff.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. It's going to be a little awkward around Auburn. I guess he took that visit this weekend after he said Auburn can't compete with Alabama. There hadn't been any receivers drafted from Auburn, in recent memory. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, man, aren't you going there this weekend?
Yeah.
Unlike burning the bridge right before you get there.
No, he don't care. Yeah. It's the recruiting game is just so they don't know where they really want to go, and they're getting pulled in a million different directions. It's a really difficult decision to make.
Yeah. It's so much more nationalized now than it was, 10, 20 years ago. I say that. I forget I graduated 10 years ago. I mean, kids aren't going to schools because they love that school nearly as often as they used to. I feel like, when I was growing up, I felt like a lot of the guys playing for Alabama or, where Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Florida, I mean, they grew up fans of that school, and that was their dream to play there. And I mean, that's what they ultimately did. I went to Florida State. They were the first ones to offer me. I thought it meant a lot. It did mean a lot to me. And so there was a lot of different variables to think about when I was leaving high school. But had I been one of those guys that was recruited as a freshman in high school and had offers as a sophomore or junior, I highly doubt I'd have gone anywhere else but Alabama. But when you're recruited late, it's a little bit different. But yeah, just the landscape has changed, and whenever you got money involved, you're going to have a lot more people trying to sway your decision because it carries a lot more weight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's exciting though, man. Like getting to this point, like I feel like we've like rolled through the we've rolled through the off season, and now we're finally to this point, where we're almost to where football's here. I mean, it's crazy to think that it happened so fast.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's everything about this time of year. Just when August 1st hits is like, that's when you really start, the countdown gets started. I do wish we had, I miss those week one big games that we used to play, every year. And I felt like that was started, in 2007 with Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss those big opening weekend games. But, it makes it a little tougher when you got, Wisconsin, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia. It's going to be a long year, but it's going to be fun. There's so many big primetime games lined up for this year and then the playoff. This is going to be the best college football season of all time.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be the most intriguing. Have you had a chance to look at the NCAA video game that came out? You got to buy the new. People like you with the high rollers can afford the new gaming system. Right. Me, I'm stuck on like the old Xbox. I can't make that move. But a guy like you, I'm sure you shot out, got the new PlayStation, Xbox, and you're playing the game all the time.
No, I don't partake in video games anymore. I'm too competitive, and I'd probably be in my basement playing it right now.
I've seen it. It looks pretty cool though. Like it looks really
It looks awesome.
good. Yeah.
It looks awesome. Yeah, when I'll scroll through and see a video, I'll start twitching a little bit.
I want to see just once in my life Alabama with the white helmets. Is that too much to ask?
Can't do it, man. Can't do it.
Just once?
No. You can't break from that tradition. It would be. I mean, you look
not a whole season, one game. Could we do one game?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like one alternate uniform is like the gateway to being Oregon, and Oregon's like. I mean, you talk. I mean. No tradition whatsoever. Just slap a uniform on and go out there. I mean, when Oregon shows up to a game, you really don't know. You don't know which team is which because you don't know what Oregon's showing up in.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, that is to me. I would hate. I mean, being an Oregon fan, that would drive me nuts. Because I mean, college football is all about tradition. You start jacking up the uniform. I mean, you start losing that traditional feel. It's hard to beat that crimson helmet with that white stripe coming out of that tunnel.
Yeah, it is. Look, I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying, like, I see the Bear Bryant picture. I got it in the studio, and he's there, and I think it's like with Joe Willie, and he's got the white helmet on, and I'm like, I would just like to see that one time. I bet the video game would give me that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that may be the only place I ever do it. I know. I always think of Jim Wells saying that he didn't really like changing the Bama baseball uniforms because he didn't want his team to look like they all just got out of Hibbets.
Yeah, that's great. I was in Dothan. I was in Dothan last Friday. For an event Kevin Jackson put on, and every now and then you'll get one of those white helmets, the alternate helmet, and they do look pretty cool. I will say that, and even a black helmet with red numbers and a red stripe would look pretty cool. But again, it's
I'm not going that far. I will say this though, that for some reason you got in my algorithm.
I lost you.
But it's a lot of stuff it's a lot of your stuff. And it's like these uniforms I've never seen before and like weird colored footballs and jerseys. And you've signed it and there's a certificate of authenticity. I was wondering, like, is there like a Jake Coker store that I don't know about?
I don't know. I mean, I can look at a signature and tell if it's right or wrong or not. I mean, or if it's fake. There were a bunch going out after the national championship that were definitely fake. But I did see a video the other day that made me laugh. It started off with me, and they were asking me about my nicknames. Hang on, I can't see it. Yeah, that looks real. Yeah, that looks real.
It's authentic. It's authentic. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's only $130.
My signature looks like I did it with my offhand.
Only $130. At least your price is still good.
Yeah. Did you buy it?
No, I didn't. I screenshotted it for moments like this.
I hear you. I was about to say that kind of goes back to my the same financial decision it takes to buy a car. It's just the value just crashes and burns.
I'm trying to find another one.
They were asking me about my nicknames, and I forgot. A couple of my nicknames at Alabama, or my teammates gave me, were Vanilla Vic and Cam Cracker. I laughed so hard at that because I forgot about that. It is so funny, I mean, that's some funny locker room stuff right there.
That is pretty funny. Man, I feel like that's a good place for us to leave this episode. What's your schedule? Thursday, Friday? Can you do it again?
Yeah, Thursday sounds good to me.
All right, Thursday. Guys, don't forget, we're brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Now's a great time to check out MyBookie. Use the promo code NEXTROUND and start getting those wagers in. Who's going to be the next Heisman? Who's going to win the national championship? All that stuff right there at mybookie.ag. All right, he's Jay Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and Roll Tide. We'll talk to you Thursday.